Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please hold and you will be able to listen to the show.
Maybe it was after the 4th of July. I'm not quite sure when that was, but unmuted. Pamela is a guest on our show, and she's back again to share some of her wisdom with us. And when I say wisdom, it is wisdom, because everyone does not possess the kind of information that Pamela McCoy does, and she routinely speaks to groups, and she routinely is on various television shows locally and probably internationally, I'd say. But one of the things for sure is that she's highly sought after, and I would like to just take an opportunity to say, Pamela, this morning, good morning, Pamela, or good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dr. Hank. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. First of all, let me apologize. You know, this time change and everything has got not only me out of sort, but also the system that we're working with. So 1,000 pardons for that, if you will. And I owe you a coffee, lunch, or at minimum a sandwich or something.
All righty.
So hopefully you'll forgive me for some of those things. But since our time is going to be somewhat short, I'm going to just jump right into this. And I've already shared with our listeners that you're back by popular demand. Back in July. Could you just kind of restate what is that spending plan? Because I think that was really some good information that you shared with us when we were talking about a spending plan and the emergency fund. So take us through that in a couple of minutes if you can.
All righty. A spending plan is kind of like your roadmap, if you will, oftentimes referred to as a budget. I like to use the word spending plan as opposed to a budget, because when you say budget, it just kind of sounds so constraining, kind of like the word diet, all about what you can't do.
Yes, it does.
Whereas a spending plan acknowledges the fact that you have to do some spending. You're just going to strategically do that spending, meaning you're going to plan for things that you have to purchase. And the emergency fund, which runs right in line with the spending plan, is for any and all unexpected financial impacts that come up. So everyone, doesn't matter if your income is $500 a week or $5,000 a week, everyone needs to have a spending plan and segue that into an emergency fund.
So real quick, so what percent of that spending plan would you say might make sense for an emergency fund? I mean, you know, I always hear somebody talking about, you know, some percent of this should be set aside. Is there a rule of thumb on that?
Well, as it relates to a spending plan and the more so the emergency fund, I like to tell folks, if you don't have an emergency fund, today is the day to get started. And so when you talk about a dollar amount or percentage for someone who's just starting out, it can sound very daunting. And so I don't want them to refrain from starting because I don't have X number of dollars available today to start that. And so for me, I think I would like the listeners really to more so focus on the behavior. And that behavior is, I can't spend everything that I make. I want to set some money aside for life's emergencies, because it's not a matter of if, it's really a matter of when life is going to happen. And so, you know, in the finality of it all, though, when you're talking about an emergency fund, as relates to your income, you really want to have 6, 9, 12 months worth of your living expenses readily available should there be job loss or health issues or things like that keep you from working. And for us here in Florida, My last segment that I did on Fox 13 recently was related to the hurricane storm Irma. It was earth-shattering and fearful for all of us, but for some, they had a strong desire to leave, to get out of the path of the storm or what have you, but their finances would not allow them to make that decision. So they were kind of then left in the situation created, without any options. They couldn't even go further north or what have you, because if they didn't have some place to stay for free, then they have to not only factor the cost of the gas, the cost of a hotel, the cost of eating out, all of those things have to be factored. And so even though they may have wanted to leave, unfortunately, a lot of people ended up having to stay put just because their finances would not allow them to. So,
right, yeah. That's what I was thinking. So it was, the old saying that it would cost them more to leave than it would to stay, even though there's more danger in them staying than leaving. It was just that they couldn't afford to leave.
Right, and even those who might have decided to stay might not have been able to really shore up their property because, again, the monies, because to buy plywood and nails and tarp and all of those kind of things, those things cost money as well, because though everyone was affected by the storm, I can assure you, the Home Depots and Lowe's of the world were not giving that stuff away for free. So, though they were very empathetic to the cause, they can't afford to give that stuff away, so it had to be purchased. And so if it wasn't in your budget, where does those funds come from to make those purchases?
Right. Now, let's talk about this thing called needs and wants and desires. And, we're approaching the holiday season. We're actually into the holiday season. Just all you have to do is just kind of go into some of the stores and you see holiday stuff up already. So how does need, desires factors into one's holiday spending?
Well, again, that's one of those principles that is year-round, needs, wants, and desires, and assessing those, because those play a significant role in your money management skills and your abilities. And so I use the analogy of water because that applies to everyone. Water is something that our body absolutely needs. So there's no question about that. We need water to live. However, you might want to buy bottled water, to that end, a store brand bottle of water. That would fall in the category of I want to do that. Well, then you can even take it up another notch, because they have some of that higher end designer water, if you will, the Perriers of the world. All of those categories meet the need, but your budget will dictate which one you choose wisely, hopefully, based on your budget. Everyone can't afford to spend $6, $7, $8, $10 a case of water, Perrier, etc., versus even a store brand case of water costing maybe $3 or $4 a case, when you can get tap water for free. And so again, the need is our body needs water, but how you meet that need is a choice that we make. And hopefully you're going to make the choice realistically based on your budget, and basically not be water poor, meaning I have designer water, but I'm homeless, that kind of thing. But life is full of choices and decisions, but needs, wants, and desires. And so everyone really needs to kind of sit down and really make that assessment. And though I use the analogy of water, that's true for electronics. It's true for the car that you drive. It's true for the clothes that you wear. We need clothes on, but do we need to, shop at Neiman Marcus, or will picking something up at Walmart do? And again, it's not a place for anyone to judge. It's your choice as a consumer which one you purchase. But my goal is that decision is based on your spending plan, what you can actually afford. There's no need having, a St. John suit on, when you can't pay your rent. kind of thing.
Right. Now, what I'm also relating that to is, I'm going to say, emotional buying, need buying, okay? Because sometimes those desires is more of an emotional buy. You know, sort of like when we're at the market and we're just before we check out, we go through this little narrow aisle between the checkout counters, and they have what they call those impulse buys. There, all that candy and stuff there. And we know we don't need that because we didn't have that on our grocery list and stuff like that. But our emotions get the best of us sometimes, and we get it anyway.
Exactly.
And so when you're talking about those needs and desires and Walmart versus Neiman Marcus, you know, and designer this versus designer that, you know, Target has designer clothes these days. It's a matter of what designer do you feel that you can be satisfied with, and so I'm right there with you in terms of understanding how to, you know, sort through those emotions and get to the need, and if that need satisfies the emotion, that's what you do versus, you know, it has to be that overwhelming emotion that needs to be satisfied. Anyway, we're getting information from you, Pamela, and thank you again very much for that. But I want to talk about Bonafide Bits. Is that a book you did?
That is my book, absolutely. It's called Bonafide Bits, and the subtitle is Where Inspiration and Intellect Collide with Your Finances. It's a quick, easy read, only 69 pages, and just a side note, makes an excellent holiday gift and currently has free shipping and handling. But in the book, you will find 5 categories, and the categories are from the motto of my company, which is to educate, empower, evolve, enlighten, and enrich. And within those categories, there will be an inspiration, and from that inspiration, it will give you a life application as well as a financial application of that inspiration. And, you know, kind of tapping back a little bit on the needs, wants, and desires and the holiday that are quickly approaching us. You know, I want the listeners to really kind of take a moment to pause and not get caught up, as you were stating, that emotional purchasing. You know, I think, unfortunately, you know, we so often lose sight of the reason for the season, so to speak. And the holiday season wasn't designed to be this stressful, high anxiety kind of season in our life, you know, and so overwhelming. And then you get in a situation of overspending, and then you're dealing with that for the next 12 months until the next holiday season and all of that, you know. So the listeners, hopefully, they started saving for this holiday immediately following last holiday. But if not, you know, today is a good day to get started. And, you know, in thinking of, one, writing it down. Who are you going to make purchases for? And keeping in mind, you know, it's really not about the gift, the cost of the gift. It really shouldn't be. It should be about the thoughtfulness. And with that in mind, it doesn't always mean making a purchase. You know, if you've got some kind of skill or craft, whether it's cooking, whether it's knitting, whether it's artsy or what have you, why not consider making gifts instead of purchasing gifts? You know, that typically, in most cases, has more emotional value, if you will. It's cherished more because there's thought that went into it, you know, about the recipient. It's not like I went out and got you a gift card, though that works. But I took a moment, I thought about who you are and what you like and what might make you smile, and that's what I made for you, or what have you. So considering those kinds of things. But if you're going to purchase, make sure, you know, you're shopping around for the best pricing. If you don't have the cash available, which would be my preference, that you had the savings set aside for holiday spending. But think about credit cards that have cash back. That means you're kind of getting a discount, not now, but in the future for those purchases. You know, making that list so you're not making those impulse. If your budget says I can only buy 5 gifts, then 5 gifts is all you're going to buy. And if the budget said no more than $10 per gift, stick to that. Don't get caught up in, oh, well, I really should spend $30 on this. Oh, it's only $20 extra, because that's when they start getting into these financial binds that, again, they end up paying for Christmas. Come April, May, June, July, you're trying to get kids back in school, you're still paying for Christmas. Why? Because we lost our focus on the reason for the season, and it's not about who can spend the most money or trying to keep up with the Joneses because they buy everyone in their family $500 gifts. You know, so I've got to spend $500. Well, again, looking at your budget and their budget could be 2 entirely different things, or it could be that now you're trying to keep up with that, and the reality is they'll be from Christmas to Christmas paying for Christmas because they too could not afford $500 gifts. So,
right, you know, and you mentioned that, and what comes to mind, and I know everyone probably does not watch the Frasier show, and it's an old television show, but there was this episode, it was a holiday episode, and Frasier and his brother Niles, they were doing this one-upsman on each other. Each tried to buy their dad a more expensive gift for Christmas. You know, it started off with maybe a pair of slippers, and it went from a pair of slippers to a pair of pants, and it went from a pair of pants to a suit, and you know, and every time one saw that the other one had outdone the other, they would then run back to the store and get something. That often happens in families too, or with friends and stuff, where when one friend buys another friend something, they go, "Oh gosh, I better get this." Or if they get you something, you say, "Oh geez, they spent $30 on this. I better go get something that is equal to or slightly more than."
Right.
For them. And you keep going back and forth. And like you said, in April or May of next year, when it's time to pay those things off, all of a sudden we're not feeling as excited about that as we were when we were, in Neiman Marcus or wherever we were when we were making those initial purchases. But
absolutely. Because that $30 gift, when it's all said and done, you might have paid $150 for the gift with all the interest and fees on that item. When you couldn't afford the $30, then certainly you can't afford the $150.
That is very, very true.
So,
when you're talking about this shopping thing, how early should we start to prepare for this holiday spending? Just if there's a rule of thumb, what do you think?
it's really as soon as this holiday season is winding down. Why? Because if you're planning ahead, everything's going to be 50, 75, 85, 90% off, the day after the holidays or what have you. And so if you pre-planned, then you can pick up some of those items now for next year, whether it's the wrapping paper, whether it's actually even gifts for someone. Now is the time to go ahead and purchase that gift. But again, you have to have planned for it, to have the funding for it to do that. And so it's always about planning. And just a quick quote from one of my, page 32 of my book, when it kind of falls right into that. The best thing about the past is that it'll show you what not to bring into your future. So if you were that Christmas shopper who's paying for it June, July of the following year, always focus on the front windshield and not the rear view mirror. And that's a quote from Colin Powell. That just kind of means you got to be looking forward. You can't drive a car, looking in the rear view mirror. And so the life application for that inspiration is, as I journey through this process called life, there are experiences I should choose to leave behind. I should learn the lesson and leave it. I remind myself that if I stay focused on the past, it hinders me from my future. Additionally, If I continue to hold on to something negative from my past, I will not free up that space to be occupied by something positive. And so then the financial application would be, I tell each of my clients that the only value in visiting the past financial woes or they're not as stellar financial decisions, as well as their adverse impacts, they learn to learn the lesson, then let it go. We must learn from our history or we'll be destined to repeat its mistakes. However, after that, your new financial mindset needs to be this day forward. Stated another way, progress is in the process, always involves risk. You can't steal second base and keep your foot on first. You're willing to let go of something to make room for something new. Let's focus on the process to financial freedom. And all that, again, is going back to this holiday spending. If you were that person, you don't have to continue to be that person. You can choose today that this holiday season is going to be different. When the holiday is over, it's going to be over financially as well. Meaning, if I don't have it in my budget, I'm going to bake, because that's what's in my budget. But come January 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, you're going to be resting a whole lot better. Why? Because when the holiday is over, the holiday is over.
It is over. You're absolutely right about that. Now, we often, talk about things like, financial investors and money management and people who have a group of people or a target audience in mind for the messages that they deliver or for the books that they write or for the classes that they teach. Do you have a target audience?
My target audience really is any individual or group or entity that has constituents that's really genuinely concerned about their well-being. It is no different. Your financial well-being is no different than your physical well-being in that you have to be prepared, in that you have maintenance things that you do to prevent major things from happening, i.e. health insurance. That's the purpose of having it. If you go and get your checkups or what have you, you don't get grossly ill is the intention. When you take your car in for your oil change and your tires to be rotated, it is hopefully to prevent you from having to buy an engine. And so your finances really are no different. Knowledge is not power. It is applied knowledge that is power. And so, it's my mission to give my participants, my individuals, as well as groups, the tools that they need to fuel their financial potential. And, everybody has some level of financial education. And that's why I refer to it as financial capability education, because everybody has some kind of capability. It's just a matter of improving on where you are. And all of us can improve. And so, it's my goal, my desire, my purpose, my passion is that each individual has that knowledge and applies it to their finances daily so that they can be financially free. And with being financially free, of course, that removes a lot of the stress and anxiety that people find themselves in. Because, as I often say, when you peel back the onion on life circumstances and situations, more times than not, there's going to be a dollar sign at the bottom.
Ooh, what is that? That's a shot of realism. Mm-hmm. Everything pretty much has that dollar sign associated with it. You can get by for a while,
right?
But sooner or later, you're gonna have to pay. Now, one of the things that we often do on the show, and of course you know this, and that is I always want people to be able to contact our guests because, hey, I don't have the information. It's the information that our guest had that was sharing with us. So what's a good way for someone to reach you to get more info?
My website is www.bonafidecc.com. That's B as in boy, O as in October, N as in Nancy, A as in Apple, the number 5, D as in dog, C as in cat, C as in cat.com. And on my website, of course, would be my email address as well as my phone number for them to reach out to me with questions that they have, or if they're interested in a consultation or having Bonafide come in and do a workshop or a seminar for any group. It doesn't matter large or small or what have you. We're available to do those workshops and seminars.
Okay, great. And part 2 of this is that, we'd like for our listeners to be able to have access to something, a takeaway or a gift or access to some additional information. So what do you have for us? Or what do you have for them?
Well, also on my website,
what do you have for us?
What do I have for you guys? Well, today's your lucky day. If they reach out to me, I can send them a packet of some basic budgeting information. It's about 11 pages. I will send that to them electronically. They just need to reach out to me and request that information. But in addition to that, on my website, they will also find my book as well as 2 t-shirts. And so if anyone orders 2 items, whether it be 2 books or a book and a t-shirt or 2 t-shirts or what have you, I will also give them a $50 discount voucher for a one-on-one consultation, and that'll be good for 30 days, meaning it expires on December the 6th. If they order 1 item, again, whether that's just a book or just a t-shirt or what have you, they will get a $25 discount on a consultation. And as I mentioned earlier, through the holidays, there will be free shipping and handling on any and all purchases made via the website. So again, the book makes an excellent stocking stuffer, if you will. It's a gift that will keep on giving to the recipient. They will receive an autographed copy, of course. And, looking forward to really being able to provide the knowledge that the individual, the tools that they need to fuel their financial potential. And that comes through gaining knowledge and then applying that knowledge for themselves, as well as that generational transfer. So hoping the listeners will take a moment to go to the website. They'll also find some of my segments from various media outlets, some radio, some television. Most recently, I've partnered with Fox 13, but there's some segments they'll find from NBC and the daytime show there as well, where they can get some bona fide bits, little nuggets related to their finances. So hopefully they'll reach out.
Oh, that's excellent. That's excellent. Now, hopefully you don't have to divulge too much information in this one, but you mentioned, a consultation. Mm-hmm. So if someone comes, what kind of a consultation or what happens to a consultation during a consultation, and maybe how long is a consultation? Because if I'm going to get $50 discount, I'm expecting something. So not how much do I have to spend, but what are you sharing with me in that consultation?
In the initial consultation, most of my clients only need the initial consultation. I have a few that have, needed a series, if you will. But in that initial consultation, it can last anywhere from 2.5 to 4 hours, depending on, again, the capability level of the client. So it's not hourly based, it's a flat fee, because my goal and my sole purpose is that they walk away with the understanding that they need. And so if they can get that in 2.5 hours, great. If we need to keep talking about it for 4 hours, we'll do that. But in that initial consultation, I will have taken, prior to the consultation, they will have sent me an electronic version or a physical copy of their credit report. I'll take that credit report and lay it out in an Excel spreadsheet, which is user-friendly for the consumer, and that actually will be our working document, if you will. And so based on, my initial conversation with the client, based on the information I find in their credit report, and based on their questionnaire where they're talking about their goals that they'd like to accomplish, I will create an action plan for them to accomplish their goals. Right. And so Again, I also tell my clients at the onset when we're having the conversation prior to the consultation, you know, you can't keep doing what you were doing and get something different out of it. So, you know, before they spend the money for the consultation, they need to be ready mentally to put in the work. I can't do the work for them. And so the point of the action plan, and the action plan will get you where you want to be. Confident of that. I have over 25 years plus experience that says I can get you where you want to go. But an action plan is 2 words. My part of that is the plan. Their part of that is the action. And so the plan without no action is just words on a piece of paper and have 0 value, but that's not a reflection on what it is that Bonafide Credit Consultants is offering. That's a reflection on the individual not really being prepared mentally to put in the work. And so, you know, I'm not here, it's not my goal to just take their money. You know, I'm providing a service, and so I do have to charge a fee, but it's not my goal. And that's why I say, you know, don't reach out for the consultation until you're ready to put in the work, because that's going to mean some sacrifices. That's going to mean I can't eat out every weekend. I can't go to every concert. I can't have the flyest and the latest gear or technology or what have you. I've got to make some sacrifices to get to my goal. And those sacrifices don't necessarily have to be for forever, but they have to be forever, however long it has to be for you to accomplish your goal. And so maybe it's, 6, 9, 12 months I got to do this. And then, these things will be paid off. These goals are accomplished. And so then I can, exhale a little bit and, splurge, spend a little bit or what have you. But also during this journey, hopefully we're changing behaviors and our decision-making process as it relates to money. Because, again, it's about the behavior.
Last quick question, and this can be yes or no or maybe so. Do you deal with the elderly? Because often they're on fixed incomes, but they don't necessarily always have good money management skills. So
Yes.
do you work with that group as well?
I do. I work from teens to young adults to seniors. Absolutely. I even do some work with preteens, trying to get them ready to not make those falters, to have the skill sets that they need before they are really making money and money decisions kind of thing. So.
Well, great. Well, Pamela, thank you so much for taking time to be on our show today. Sorry about the hiccups that we had earlier, but let me say thank you. And of course, the invitation is always open, so just let me know when you're ready for a return visit. We'll get you booked and we'll take care of that. But thank you for sharing your knowledge and expertise. And listeners, please take her up on that. She's offering some consultations or some discounts on consultations there. And I like what I hear, so you might have to add me to that list of people that you're doing consultations with.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And they don't have to be though I'm located in Florida, they don't have to be here in Florida. Technology allows me to have clients all over the U.S. and international. So let that not be the issue.
That's great. That's good to know. Because as I was sharing with the earlier, we do have clients sort of all over the world. So you never know where, the next client may come from. So again, thanks so much. Look forward to hearing and talking to you again soon, Pamela. Thank you.
Alrighty. Thank you, Dr. Hank.